Okay, this is Jacob Schmitt with deerhuntingschool.com. I'm looking at a property here that someone had emailed me about. Um, and, first thing, of course, obviously, that the area that the property is within inside this red um, border here, that's pretty much the property boundary, pretty close to the picture he sent me. I drew it out as close as I could, but it's probably off a little bit, but that's pretty much the property boundary there. Now I'm just going to zoom out. The area's got a lot of agriculture fields here to the north. It's got a little bit going on here to the south east of it. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in on the property a little bit. I'm going to change the angle too. Give me just a second. I always like the north part of the top of my videos being the north side. But as I change the angle, you notice there's quite a pretty rough terrain, a lot of hilly terrain here. Now there's also, it's got some food plots scattered out through the property here. Looks to me like these trees are mostly hardwoods. So it looks like to me it's mostly hardwoods. You've got some pines here. Here in this area, some pines here. But it looks to me like on the property is mostly hardwoods. Probably a lot of oaks and different other types of trees. Also I want to take it back just real quick, just back in history, just briefly here, to look. See this area here? That's an old clear cut, or not even really old. It was clear. It was cut, but in between 2007. Okay, you see here in 2007, it's big trees. It's big timber, and 2010 it's been cut. So it's been cut somewhere between then. I would say closer to 2010 because this looks like a fairly fresh clear cut. But somewhere in between then this has been clear cut. Okay, so you've got some logging activity. Another thing I wanted to look at really quick is this. Yeah, and see here, see these pines. You can definitely see that this is pretty much all hardwoods up through here. Okay, pretty much all of it is. Okay. So anyways, I wanted to go this picture here, and because this picture really shows the terrain features very well, I want to kind of talk about a couple things. Now I know Brett, you had sent the picture you had sent me. You marked out some stands and stuff. I don't know if you can hunt them stands or whatever. But one area of interest to me that I would really be very interested in looking at, if you can hunt it. I don't know, because I know there was a stand in here, this area. And that's this area here. Somewhere in this area here. And the reason for that is when the timing is right, and I know you've got the timing course, so you know what I'm talking about. When the timing is right on these fields, this could really be a hot spot for deer coming back and forth, funneling down out of these hills and stuff. Because a lot of times these deer will bed up on these ridges or whatever, and then they'll drop down these draws, and then they'll hit this because it's easy. That's the easy route for them to take. And they may be up here and they'll come down, but this is going to be a hot spot for deer coming in and out. Now you're going to have to keep in mind that the terrain is going to affect wind direction and stuff, and it's really tough because if you've got terrain like this, let's just say here, okay, we've got a northeast wind, so that means the wind is coming out of the northeast and blowing this direction. Let's say that at this marker at 5 is where you're sitting. What happens, that wind hits your scent, carries your scent, it hits this hill, and it changes direction. It bounces back and forth in this hill and swirls and all kinds of stuff. So you've got to keep that in mind. Keep thermals, all that, different types of stuff into play. on that. But that's an area of interest. Is that the other area of interest? And we're just going to go ahead and talk about this real quick. Is this? There's a small one here that comes down. Okay, you see here. There's a small draw here that comes down. Now this one's a lot further distance, but still deer may funnel through this area to get there. The other area is these ridge. Okay, you've got this ridge that runs here, and it's got these fingers that drop down. Okay, into them fields. That may be an area of interest. I want to check them areas, and then there's one more ridge here. There's a ridge here that these deer may. They may bed here and then work their way down the ridge a little ways before they drop down. They're going to drop off the ridge somewhere. Now, a lot of times they'll take the fingers and they'll take these draws, okay? But if the deer are bedded, up on these ridges at the edge of your property, them are areas that you want to check out and look at, okay? Because if that's the case, say if deer are coming through there, I know you're a bow hunter, you got to get really close. So you've got to find stuff that's necking them deer down and keeping them deer neck down where you can get in range with them. So these ridges, these draws, ridge here, and this area here. Now, if you can't hunt it, that's okay. There's some other areas on this property that are good, and if you can't hunt it and somebody is hunting this a lot. If they're hunting it a lot, they may alter the deer route, so the deer may take another route. They may take this ridge, or they may, stay up in here, further. And, they may alter the route, and then you have this area over here. So that's an area of interest. The other area of interest that I would be interested in, and I'm gonna have to go back to the other map. Okay. So we can see it. Well, here I guess we can see it. Okay, you've got this food plot. I notice y'all, a lot of the steer stands are on the plots or on the fields. Okay, look like they're right on the edge of the fields. I really would want to check out these draws and these these fingers and stuff that are coming in and out because of the food plots. Because what happens a lot of times is you hunt these a lot, the deer stop using them in the daytime. And they'll stage up. Bucks may stage up out of here. Another thing is bucks will scent check these areas in the rut. Okay, and when they do that, they're going to scent check from downwind. They're not going to walk right out through the plot to scent check. They're going to scent check downwind. Usually, anywhere from 60 to 100 yards or so, somewhere in that range downwind, they'll. Let's just say the wind's coming out of the north in this case, and that buck, he's going to, come across this ridge, and he's, which if he gets down this hill, so that helps you there to know, he's going to stay up on the hill and scent check that. If you have a south wind, he's going to, scent check this areas, okay? Keep that in mind. But they're going to have travel corridors that they use to get from one food source to the next food source, or from one bedding area to the next bedding area, and that's what you're looking for. Okay, that is what you're looking for, because that's why I say you want to check the draws and the ridge tops and stuff to see if you can find them travel corridors, and you'll find them because they're going to have rub lines and stuff in them where the bucks are using them. Okay, and you're going to have fresh and old rubs, and I know you've got a couple of the courses that's really could help you out there. I'm going to go back to the original picture real quick so we can actually see the stuff much better. And do that with every one of these food plots. Check them areas. You got this one here, okay? And I know the road is right here on the ridge, but that doesn't mean that the deer are not working the edge here. Okay, taking that, especially on this areas here, because you've got this bedding area that's so close. Them bucks in the area, especially when they go to seeking, looking for hot does, and then they go get closer to we're talking a pre-rut. When they get closer to the chasing phase of the rut, they're really moving a lot. The deer are really, bucks are really, looking at areas like this, and they're scent checking areas like this, and they'll go from one food source to the next bedding area, to the next bedding area, and they're moving a lot. And what you want to find are them travel routes that they're using. Usually it's the easiest route possible. When I say that, I'm not meaning the thinnest. I mean not saying the thinnest woods possible. A lot of times they'll take on the edge of something thick, but it's easy routes. In areas where there's a lot of hills like this, let me change my angle again. For some reason my angle keeps getting messed up. Areas where there's a lot of hills like this, they're going to take these valleys and these draws, or they're going to walk the top of these ridges, okay, to go from point A to point B. So what in the fingers. So what may happen is, say this buck, he comes from this, he comes out of he gets done scent checking this clear cut, and he comes down. He takes this ridge top here, drops down this finger, goes up this draw. He comes, he scent checks this. There's nothing, so he takes this ridge top here. You've got this ridge. It runs down here. He hits a draw here. He comes up. He finds another draw. He takes the draw. He scent checks this area. Okay. And then he may take the ridge top back, come over here, scent check the clear cut. And you've got more than one buck doing that. And they're going to take the routes. I don't know exactly what the route is, but that's what you need to look for. So what you need to do is these areas, you can bet that them areas the bucks are going to be scent checking. They're going to do it. The bedding areas, the food sources, they're going to scent check them. Now you've got a lot of oak trees. I think you've got a lot of oak trees scattered out through your property here. That's going to make it tough, because you can't say, well, hey, the deer are here on this patch of white oaks, at this certain time, and then because if you do have, just say this is just white oaks here, and then there's no other white oaks on the entire property. Well, then you've got a patch of trees that are producing food at a certain time. Okay, but the bucks are going to scent check these key areas. Your job is to find the routes that they're taking. Okay, and then you don't want to be hunting right on the what's probably going on in your club. A lot of the guys are hunting these food plots. That's all they hunt. And you may have one or two guys that are out hunting other spots. But you want to find them travel corridors that are going from one food source to the next food source to the next food source. And, remember the timing course on that, because it can save you from hunting certain travel corridors at certain times, okay? And if you should understand that if you've got that course. And after you get used to this property for a little while, you are going to, you'll know, okay, let's just say here, okay, that you do have a group of white oaks over here, and then you have this food plot here. You're going to know when this travel corridor here is hot. You're going to know when this travel corridor here is hot. You're going to know when this travel corridor that's on top of this ridge is hot. Or you're also going to know, say, okay, you found a rub line that goes from, wherever, from this food plot to this food plot, and then you found another rub line that comes down through here and goes back to the bedding area here. You're going to know when them rub lines are going to become hot because you've got the timing course and you understand that. Okay, that's really going to help you out, because once you find that information and then use the scouting course that you have to keep track of that information and use that information, putting both of them together and making sense of it. Okay, the other key areas I would look at on this property are, you've got these draws and stuff that are coming in and out of this clear cut. Okay, and in your email was strange to me, because you said you couldn't figure out how to get into this clear cut. Unless you're talking about another clear cut, I'm confused, because the road's right through the middle of this clear cut. Doesn't mean the deer's not going to bed in here. Certain deer are bedding in this. It's old enough that the deer should be bedding in it. It should be grown up pretty thick, and deer should be bedding inside this clear cut. But you want to find them. You want to check out them them draws that, and here's one right here. Let me zoom in on it so we can see it better. You see the draw here? There's one draw. You want to check out them because a lot of times you'll have deer will bed on these ridges inside this, and then they'll come and they'll drop down them draws. That's probably going to be, them are going to be areas where you're probably going to find some rub lines and some deer trails and stuff that are coming in and out. And then you're going to have to, figure out where that deer trail's going and make sense of it. Why is that deer trail there? As far as the timing goes, you'll figure that out, and then you'll start getting patterns on how the deer are using this property at different times of the year. Okay, by understanding that. And then you want to check out your ridge tops that run through. Okay, you've got here and your roads there, but that doesn't mean deer will use right on the edge of the road. People don't realize that a lot. Your hottest spot may be 30 yards off your road here. Okay, bucks may be coming out here and they're walking right down the edge of your road. Okay, that you're driving down. A lot of people miss them areas because they think, well, there's no way deer can be using them, but check them out. I've some pretty good hunting spots that are right beside the road. Here's a ridge top here that's coming out of the bedding area. Okay, you want to check that out to see if there's any activity on that. Here's a draw. You want to check that out, see if there's any activity. What you're probably going to find is that some of the ridge tops are being used as travel corridors to get around, and you're probably going to find some of these draws are being used pretty heavily, regularly, to get in and out. Here's a ridge top here, draw here, ridge top here. There's a draw right here that runs right through the middle. And what you have here, you've got ridges on both sides of the draw that deer should probably be bedding on, and they'll drop down into the draw as they go out. A lot of times, sometimes they'll walk the top of the ridge for a ways before they drop down. So you may have sign on the top of the ridge, but at some point they're going to drop down into that valley. They have no choice; they can't stay on top of the ridge, and that's what you want to find, because you may have a deer trail right across the top of this ridge that drops down right here into this big valley. Okay, and you may have a deer trail that runs on the side, and then it drops down into here. You may have a deer trail here that's coming off this ridge here by the road where there's deer could be bedding right beside the road that are coming down, and their deer trail may run right through the middle of the valley as it comes down into here. And then you may have another deer trail here that dumps down in here. And the thing is you have a conversion point where all these deer trails meet. That is where you want your stand. Now, I'm not saying put a stand here, but I'm saying if that is what was going on, that's what you need to look for. And that's why I'm telling you, check these ridge tops and these ridges, because what you're going to have most of the time, areas like this, what I have found is, and I'm going to go over here and say it again so it makes really good sense to you. What you have a bedding area, most of the time what happens is you have a bedding area like this older clear cut here. Or, it's fairly young, this clear cut, okay? And what happens is you've got a ridge. A lot of times the deer will bed up here on the ridge, and they'll work their way across the ridge, and then they'll drop down into this draw somewhere as they mingle and go out and feed wherever they're going, and then they'll come back, and that's what happens. So what happens a lot of times is, some of the deer will use this sometimes, and they'll, come down the point, and boom, they'll dump off into this draw, okay? Some deer come down earlier, and they work their way down through here on the side of the hill, and they dump out into the draw on the edge of the point. Some deer are coming down this one, they dump out into the draw. And what you find, some deer are walking right down the middle of the draw, okay? Most of the time, the deer trails are right on the edge. Not at the very bottom, but right on the edge. Usually you have one on both sides sometimes. And they come down, and then what happens usually, from what I've found, is at the bottom where you have the point come in, you have a draw come in, you have a draw here coming in, you have a conversion point, because even this spot here, you've got a draw here that there should be deer trails, and there'll be finer trails coming down into it. Okay, here, and your heavy trail may be here, and then you may have this real faint trail, which is usually the bigger, older bucks, but they're still hitting the conversion point here somewhere. And then you have deer trails coming down this draw the same way from deer that are on this ridge top that are dropping down, or deer that are coming out of the bedding area here, working their way down and coming around, whatever. But what I've found is a lot of times on them points where it all kind of comes together, all this stuff kind of comes together and meets, because you've got draws, 2 draws coming together, you've got 1 point coming together here, and sometimes you may even have another point here coming together, and you have a lot where you can get a stand set up where you can shoot at all that stuff with a bow, and that's how you can really, your percentages on your stand locations go up. That's kind of what you need to find, is high percentage stand locations. I'll look here real quick and see if okay, here's another one. Okay, here's another one here where it could, now I'm not saying this is for sure deal, but what I am saying is you need to check these draws, check this draw, check this ridge top, check draws coming off this food plot, check this draw here, see what the deer are doing. Okay, here's a point coming here, because here you've got the same thing. Oh yeah, this is a good, let me turn this, get the angle just right. You can actually see this really nice here. Okay, let me get this angle just right. Now we're not facing the north anymore, but okay, you see how you have this draw that comes up. That draw goes up into this clear cut. Okay, you should have deer using that draw. You really should have deer using that draw. You should have deer using this ridge top and dropping down in here. And then here's another draw. And a lot of times they'll work right on the edge. They won't work right. I've found that they don't usually walk right down the center of it, but they rather walk on the edge of one side or the other. Okay, but you see here, you've got this here that comes down, boom. You've got one that feeds in here. You've got a small draw that drops off this food plot down into here. This may be one of them points. Okay, you've got this point that runs down in here, where you've got areas that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 things that are coming together in one spot to where you may be able to set up a stand just right. If that's the case, you want to check it and make sure, but it probably is going to be the case, but you want to check it and make sure, and don't fall in love with it. Remember, timing plays everything. Okay, but when you have areas like this, you may have several deer trails coming together in one spot. That's where you want, because your percentages, your percentage of deer coming through there is much greater. And then if you can shoot across them with a bow, like a gun, you may be able to set up here. If you've got an open shot, you can set way the heck up here, and you've got it. You can shoot all this area. You can shoot this area here where there's 4 spots coming together. You can shoot it here where there's 3 areas coming together. You can shoot wherever. But with a bow, you got to get in there close where you've got conversion points where there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how many ever deer trails that are coming together. You've got a rub line here that merges into a rub line from this direction, and a rub line that drops off this here to here. Okay, that's where you want to find your locations. Okay, and there doesn't necessarily have to be a lot of rubs and scrapes in that particular spot. You just need to know that, hey, there are deer coming here, through here, and why. If you've got a rub line going to this food plot, you know why. Okay, you know why with the timing course, why there's a rub line here going to this food plot. If you've got a group of white oaks here and there's scrapes under it, you know why there's scrapes under that. Okay, you've got that information with the timing course. You know why there's scrapes under these white oaks, if this is the case. Okay, and you know why there's a rub line going to that there. What's great is once you find areas like what I'm talking about here, by going in and looking at these key areas and figuring it out and doing your homework with your scouting course and keeping track of that stuff, you're going to start seeing patterns. where they're coming together in areas. And then you do your homework even on your food sources and stuff, and record it and everything. You're going to find patterns, and then you're going to find seasonal patterns, and you're going to know you're going to be setting in deer camp, or you're going to, 2 weeks before deer season opens, you're going to, I'm moving the map north, 2 weeks before deer season opens, you're sitting there and you got you a piece of paper and you say, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hunt this stand here this week, this weekend, or whenever. I'm going to hunt this stand over here when pre-rut comes in, because I know that what's going on here. I'm going to hunt this stand here, whatever time. And there's all kinds of areas like what I just pointed out on this property. And remember how the hunting pressure is going to play effect to the deer. Okay, you've got a food plot here that somebody's hunting, probably a lot. At the beginning of the year, it's going to be a good, the first week, that's going to be a good spot. After the pressure's there and a lot of scent's been left there, it's not going to be such a good spot no more. The deer are going to alter their route. They're probably still going to use the food plot a little bit, but it's mostly going to be in the cover of darkness. Okay, so you have your other food sources where people aren't hunting, and you hit them travel corridors back and forth, and them conversion points where you've got a group of white oaks here that deer are feeding on. You've got a group of white oaks here that deer are feeding on. And you got a group of post oaks here that deer are feeding on, and them deer are all working their way back towards this bedding area here, to and from them areas, and you've got a rub line here, and you've got a rub line here, and you've got a deer trail here, and they all kind of merge together in this one spot. It could be there, it could be over here. And you've got that timing, and hey, I'm going to hunt this conversion point. Okay, I'm going to hunt this conversion point here at this time, and I'm going to hunt, this conversion point here at this time. One other area that I would look at, if I were you, is in this area here. For a couple reasons. To me, this, let me zoom. I'm trying to get my camera or my picture right. For one reason, this is going to be a food source. Okay, these stripped pines is going to be a food source, and it's going to be a bedding area. Okay, the deer are probably going to, coming out of here at some point, working their way onto your property in this area. You can easily get out, walk down this road, or even drive really slow down the road after it's been wet, after y'all have had quite a bit of rain, and look and see where the heck them deer are coming out of here. You may even get up in here and look, see where them deer are coming, because it looks like, to me it looks like you've got one edge feature here, you've got an edge feature, you've got two different edges, and you've also got another one, because this looks like more larger trees than this to me. And you've got the same thing right here on your property line, at least where I have the property line drawn. You see what I'm talking about? You've got an edge feature. Deer like that. You want to check them areas out. Okay? Because you're going to have, deer activity. They may be bedding over here and feeding over here, and they may be bedding over here and feeding over there, and they may be moving periodically. And during the rut, bucks are going to check these areas. Okay, and he's going to take the shortest, quickest, easiest route to do it, period, as he comes into the seeking phase. The best time, that's the best time the easiest time to kill a deer is when they come in, to a buck. The easiest time to kill a buck that somewhere in the area is during that time. Now, when the actual rut comes in, it's probably the easiest time to kill a buck, but it may be a buck that's from 2 miles away. You may kill a buck that was, from the other side, that lived in here, or you may kill a buck that was on this side of this lake, or you may kill a buck that was over here. That's just the way it is. Okay, they're going to scatter all over the place. So, anyways, I hope everyone enjoyed this video. If you have a hunting area that's like this, you've got some terrain that's like this here, you're going to have to keep in mind how you hunt it with the wind direction, because and not even the really so much the wind direction. You're going to have to play the wind direction plus the terrain plus the thermals on the deer, because they're all going to take effect. I talk about all that in the How to Hunt the Wind online course. I talk about that and explain it a little bit, and the best I can, anyways. And because that's a must, you in an area like this, you must do it. And the other thing, guys, if you hunt an area like this, remember the terrain of how the deer are going to use it. Okay, they really like walking ridge tops, and they like walking the draws and stuff because it's easier. Now, if you've got a ridge, and they like bedding on ridges, if you've got a ridge that is thick, it's very likely deer are going to bed on that ridge. Like this clear cut, most of the deer are that are bedding in the clear cut are probably bedding on the side of these ridges somewhere. Okay. And then when they get up, they're going to drop down that ridge somewhere into these draws usually, and then they'll wander their way through wherever. Okay? That's important to remember. If you have hunting an area like this, you need to check the ridge tops, you need to check the draws, and because you're going to have conversion points where a lot of where trails come together. Them are the areas you want to hunt. Them are high percentage areas. Okay? So anyways, I hope everybody enjoyed this. Brett, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it helped you out. This is a pretty good looking property to me. It's going to be kind of a, it's going to be a tough property to hunt because it looks like it's all hardwoods. Now you do have the clear cut. You've got a couple food plots. Them are going to be food sources. Them are going to help you out a little bit. But the problem with it being all hardwoods, when the acorns are dropping, the deer can be anywhere on the property. But then you do have the ag fields out here, okay? And when the timing's right on them are going to be great. There's going to be travel routes to and from them. And some of the deer, your property is close enough. I measured it out. I think from this property line here to the field is about 700 yards. That's kind of far, but the deer will travel that far to feed. Okay, especially if you get later in the year, if there's any kind of food out here, the deer definitely travel that far back and forth to get food, or if the food's scarce, or if it's a preferred food source. And then this one here is definitely within range. I think from here to here was like 350 yards. That's what deer travel that in just a few minutes. They'll walk 350 yards in just a few minutes. They'll actually walk at 700 yards in, if not long at all either. So you're definitely close enough to that there. You've got water because of the spring. I assume the waterfall's coming out of a spring. And guys, there was a waterfall somewhere in this area here. Them areas are going to be good to hunt when it's dry. If it's very dry, the deer have to have water. Them are going to be areas to hunt. The water sources are. And there's probably, some creeks here and there or whatever that are coming out of them springs and waterfalls and stuff. So, and look at all the areas I showed you, and do your homework on the area and keep a good log on the information. Because it's really going to help you. You're going to start seeing patterns, and it's really going to help you. So anyways, I hope everybody enjoyed this video, guys. This is Jacob Schmitt with deerhuntingschool.com. Check out deerhuntingschool.com. More information and tips and things like that on deer hunting. And guys, the online courses are on when you get to deerhuntingschool.com. They're on the left-hand side of the page underneath my wife's picture holding a buck that I killed. Guys, I just want to I highly recommend them courses because the information in them is very valuable. Can really save you a lots and lots of work. There's work involved in deer hunting, but once you figure it out and once you learn how to keep a track of the information that you've gathered, and once you learn how to use the information that you gathered, guys, deer are deer. They're going to basically do the same thing from one year to the next, almost. And when you figure that out, You can take an area like this here, you can have it figured out within, you know, a couple years, about 3 years. You should have it pretty well figured out. You can move on to another area like this, start figuring it out, and guys, you'll have, you know, stand locations here. You have a stand location here that's a slam dunk at a certain time. You have stand locations here that slam dunks at certain times. Guys, that stuff is powerful. You know, that's just the way it is. Like I said, just one more time, this is Jacob Schmitt with deerhuntingschool.com. Have a good day, and bye-bye.